Welcome to the Daily Dev Talk with me, Adrian Nantchev, where we explore and share experiences, stories, and lessons 7 days a week from across the games industry, helping you make the best game you can. Stay tuned for today's episode. Good morning, Overload Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Dev Talk, talking to game developers from across the world to bring you experiences, stories, and lessons 7 days a week. Today, I'm joined with Michele Pirovano from Curiosity Killed the Cat to talk about his first game, DotAge. Michele, talk about yourself first, please. How you got into the games industry and how many games you worked on before.
Okay, thank you. So, hi, I'm Michele. I am a computer scientist. I have a PhD in computer science. And what I do is I am a postdoctoral researcher in Milan. And I do serious games. I've been doing a 3 years project, European project about games for rehabilitation, for post-stroke rehabilitation. And I also am a freelance game developer. I don't actually work in one team. I have my own really small team. It's a one-man band, but I've been collaborating with many people around the nation.
Oh, cool. Around Italy predominantly,
Yeah,
or Europe? Okay.
exactly.
So how did you get on to making DotAge exactly?
Well, it started a few years ago when you see, I've always been a great fan of games like The Settlers. Since when I was like 4 years ago, 4 years old. I've been playing it. I didn't know what I was doing, but I liked watching the small people walk around. So I wanted to do my own village simulator. But I didn't just want to copy the settlers. So what I did, after I played FTL, okay, Faster Than Light,
Mm-hmm.
Faster Than Light, you know it, yeah, right.
Yes.
It's a wonderful game, and after I played that, I decided that I wanted to do something similar, but with village sim. So I wanted to create something that would be half a village sim and half a roguelite.
Mm-hmm.
So, so Dotage is a village sim, but it's also full of bad random effects, bad random events that will happen to your village. You are the elder of a village, and you are also an oracle, so you can see what events will happen later on in the game, and you will be able to build stuff to make sure you can survive.
Mm-hmm. So you're a one-man band who's a freelance game designer
Yeah,
who decided to make a game of his own liking based on your own personal experiences over the years as your first commercial video game.
yes,
That's
exactly.
quite a story, especially to have a PhD and also to work on a lot of serious games. That's quite a shift.
Well, I've always wanted to work on in the actual entertainment industry. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, video games are my greatest hobby and a passion. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's interesting to be able to do games and also do something different. Like I've been doing serious game for rehabilitation, so for health, but also edutainment games. So it's nice to see that games can be useful for more than just entertainment.
Yes,
St-
exactly.
Still,
Yeah, we're seeing articles out there about the British Geological Society mapping Britain's geology and landscape in Minecraft,
yeah,
and we're seeing VR being used for surgeons.
exactly.
But speaking of surgeons and Britain, kind of, what did you want the player to experience when they played .age?
Well, let's see. First thing I wanted was to make people have fun with the medieval ages, the Middle Ages, in a different light from what you were used to see. What I mean is, usually medieval times in games are viewed like epic fantasy game, epic fantasy, like medieval knights, castles, kings, lots of monsters to kill. So there are no monsters here. There are no knights. There are no kings. Well, actually, there may be a king, but you just have a secluded medieval village and a very, very bad period to live in.
Hmm.
So,
At first, I had some problems playing the game, and I really don't know why
Mhm.
exactly. But when I played the browser game with Unity on Firefox, great game, love it. It's well, it is really unique. I like business simulators, and I like the strategy games.
Okay.
This game kind of reminds me of Banished, but
Yeah.
not entirely. But the similar premise. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
The first time I played it, I expanded too fast. I built two houses and I had no food. And I didn't understand how it worked because it's like I'm clicking it and food is moving around, and
Yes.
it's like this makes not much sense, which is fine. Um, then I went for the second try. I had the same problem roughly, but it was a little bit different. But the third time, I decided to specialize in food production at first, and then slowly build the people.
Hmm.
And I got to the summer, I had all the cloudiness and all these kind of things, and so the village was growing, really on its way, on the way up. And then the Oracle guy,
Yeah.
he never stays anywhere. He doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep, he
Yeah, it
always
doesn't
walks
sleep.
around, always walks
And
around
it
20
tells you
like
what to do.
yeah, forever. And then he had this like thing, and it's like, oh, there's going to be an event coming soon, and I'm like, oh, great, okay,
Yeah,
it's
that's what
question
I
mark, could
want
be
you wish
anything.
to experience.
Yeah, and first time it was a tremor for an earthquake. I thought, okay, that's fine. That's obviously a prelude to something big,
Yeah.
but right now that means nothing to me, or whatever.
Yeah,
Don't know.
yeah, it's
And then
fine.
then
Just underestimate it. It's at
mm,
your own risk.
okay,
So,
well, I can only anticipate. And then he had another thing, and it's like something else is going to happen, and I'm like, oh great, what now? Two more turns, okay. And it was a spark,
mhm,
and one house is on fire,
yeah.
and it's like, okay, that's a bit not quite what I was anticipating, but still annoying and unfortunate.
Hmm.
I suppose you can predict anything,
Yeah,
whether it's
I understand.
supernatural or
It's
not.
well, you see, it's the worst part. The most difficult part is balancing and making an interface that can be clear with so
Mm,
little data, so little explanation to the player. And this is
mm,
part
yeah,
of this is part of a challenge for me, since this is my first management game, and actually the first game I'm releasing commercially. So I'm finding it really hard to create some interface that is quite clear, but not annoying at the same time. And also since I'm still working on events on different buildings and so on, balancing is also an issue. And so
yeah, I understand.
that's why with the alpha demo, I have plenty of people telling me I don't understand this, I don't understand that, or this killed me at the beginning.
No, well, the only thing close to that I had was how that food system worked because I'm clicking on the house and there's an arrow, but I
Yeah,
understand it now because it means food turned into people. I get that,
yeah, yes,
but I didn't understand why it was moving around. Um, but I understand it now because it's like people are producing it and it goes there and then it gets collected.
yes.
Thankfully, it's collected automatically because I couldn't be bothered to click the houses to get the food.
That's partly because the game is. I took inspiration from board games like Agricola
Mhm.
or Puerto Rico or Stone Age. I don't know if you played any of those. Stone Age.
No, not too
So
sure.
they
No,
are okay. They are worker placement board games, European board games. So you
mhm.
place your worker, and the turn passes, and you get resources basically. So
Yeah, that's what I liked about yours because it was simplified. It was just click
yeah,
here, assign,
exactly,
next
exactly. But
next
people
turn.
are not used to that. People are used to click on the little person and then send him around.
Maybe, but I didn't have that problem.
Huh,
I was
yeah,
quite fine with
yeah.
it.
Just you got to get used
But
to it.
eh, but what did kill me, or kill my pips, which is actually quite a cool naming convention, pips,
Thanks.
is the spark came along and a fire.
Yeah,
I right click on the house and click the water bucket. Nothing happened.
and you
Okay,
you
so
didn't have a
but
well.
oh, you need a well.
Get
Oh, well,
water.
it's right next to the ocean, so next to the ocean,
Yeah, yeah, but
literally.
pixels are not bright, are not quite bright. And
Oh
it's
yeah, a
in the
well or
research
massive.
tree that the well is one of the first buildings you can build, and it gives
I,
water.
that's totally unbalanced because I couldn't even build a well.
Yeah, yeah, I'm still working on it. So thank you for the feedback.
Oh, okay.
I've
But
noted
anyway,
that
the fire.
Spark is overpowered. I have
Yeah,
this written down, and I already tuned it down.
I thought it would just happen automatically, or right. It's right next to the ocean, so I thought, well, okay. I didn't know that. There's only the house. I couldn't build anything
That's
else.
also
But anyway, the,
part of
the
the
fire,
idea of the game.
the fires, the fire spread from one house to two others, and I thought, oh, wow, it can actually spread. It makes sense, but I didn't know that. And then next turn after that, it spread to the fields, and it's like, oh no, houses and food. This is not looking good at all. And after that, there was like one person left, one person, nothing else. And I thought, okay, maybe he can survive long enough to maybe do something. And then next turn he died with the house. It's like, oh great, 0 out of 0. But the old man's still there. He's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
He's the other side of the map,
yeah,
just walking
yeah.
in circles.
He's fine.
And then everyone was dead, and I thought, okay, 0. I can still click past turn, so maybe something can still happen. No, I lost. So the fire killed my village. How unfortunate. So, but I like it. It's very simple, and one thing I'm concerned is right, when the player is in late game
Yes.
and the map is quite big. There's all those stones and the forests either side in the ocean. How can the player expand
Yeah,
beyond all?
that's one of the main design choices made about the game. I don't really want the player to expand, at least
Okay,
not a lot. This is because this is supposed to be a small, secluded village. So the
I
challenge
get you.
is to try to arrive at the end and decide what you need to dispose of
Yes,
and what you
I
need
thought that
to build. What,
I thought that would have been the case. So you're enclosing them in. I thought so.
exactly, but there will be a mechanic about exploration, like you send your peeps out and they may come back sometimes and bring
Cool.
goods from outside or maybe some newness.
Interesting. Interesting. But I like the concept of it. Really, really different.
Yeah,
Really different with the old
100%.
man. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
Um, so tell me, how did you go about promoting the game, and what worked for you, and what didn't work so well?
Okay, well, I just got out of my greenlight campaign. It was 1 week ago. The game
Hmm.
got greenlighted in 1 week. And what I saw that brought more people, apart from Steam itself, was posting on Reddit,
Okay.
and especially in the boards, subreddits about similar games like Vanished or even FTL, where I got
Hmm.
people that were interested in this kind of game.
Hmm.
And that brought in a lot of votes. Also, one thing I didn't anticipate is I got several several foreign sites writing about the game. Like I got a Japanese site, a couple of Russian site, a Spanish site, website, and I didn't anticipate that. Actually, I had contacted a lot of English speaking and German speaking, thinking the game would be liked by German people. German speaking site, but not many answered. Instead,
Hmm.
people I didn't write to from the verbal board wrote to me, and that was good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So don't underestimate the power of foreign countries, and maybe try to send them even a mail in English.
Hmm. So how did you go about funding the game, and what worked well and what didn't work well?
Okay, well, I'm working on this on my spare time and my weekend. I'm sacrificing my nights to work on this, so it's no, it's just self-funded. And since I am the only developer apart from the musician, I didn't put a single a single euro in the game, so I cannot really talk about funding.
Okay. Speaking of music,
Yes,
I noticed top left corner when certain songs are played,
yes,
it tells you the name
yes.
of the song. That's a cool. really unique feature. You don't see that very often because every now and then there's a song you like, and you don't know what it's called.
Yes,
That's one cool way of finding it.
and you know why? Because that's because the music in the game is actual medieval music. I
Hmm.
mean, those are not names we came up with, but Luigi, the musician, decided to take the music sheet of the Montpellier Codex, which is a collection of music from the 14th century, and he rearranged it for the
Hmm.
game. So it's actual medieval music. So we wanted to share this, and so the name appears, so you can go and check out this original music.
Well, that's pretty cool. It's a cool feature. So tell me, what was cut from the game and why?
Okay, well, I'm still deciding what to cut from the game, but there was a lot of stuff I initially planned when I started making the game a few years ago, and then
Hmm.
stopped. I mean, I started the game like 5 years ago, but then after a couple of months, I stopped. And in the beginning, it was 3D. It had all 3D graphics. It had procedural terrain generation, and then I cut everything. I cut everything. I decided to focus on what was important, and so I switched to two-dimensional graphics and two-dimensional gameplay, and so I cut all the 3D graphics.
Hmm. Hmm.
I decided to make a smaller game basically, and that since I am a solo developer, it was I think a good idea because I would not be able to also working on my spare time. I will not be able to complete a big game,
Hmm.
so it's a necessity.
I understand. So, what was the biggest thing you learned while working on the game?
Okay, I think the biggest thing I learned was the importance of feedback and of the user interface, which is something I didn't, well, I knew it was important. I've read my fair share of game design books, but I think I always underestimated it.
Hmm.
As
Ah,
I'm,
okay.
yeah, I mean, I found out that often it's the interface and the feedback that make the difference in the game. Like the same game with the good feedback and the same game with bad feedback can make a whole lot of difference and can really change how the people see the game. And it's not about the graphics, as in it has good or bad graphics, but it's really about I can understand what happened and I see why this peep died, and I see what is happening with this event. I underestimated it, so I had to work a lot on this. Most of my time is working on the interface and feedback and animations, basically.
Hmm. Okay. So, what was the worst thing that happened, and how did you overcome it?
Well, the worst thing that happened is I was in a habit to not make backups daily, and I
Oh,
got
oh.
yeah, Unity is not really stable sometimes. Like it decided when to crash, and it crashed on me when I was on the train going to work and working on my game. It crashed and I opened the game and everything was broken. So I spent a week reinserting everything. So yes, and since then every day I make multiple backups of the game, of anything I do, and also
Hmm.
I bought an uninterruptible power supply. So
Hmm.
even when the light goes off, I can shut down the PC, save everything, and I think that's important because well, you don't want to redo stuff.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
So, what was your best game dev purchase? Whether it was a software license,
Mhm.
top quality piece of hardware or equipment, or simply a comfortable chair and a good desk.
Well, apart from the uninterruptible power supply,
Hmm.
I think it was the second screen because having multiple screens greatly increased my productivity.
Mm.
Especially when you are a solo developer and you're doing the graphics and you're doing maybe you have Unity open, you have Visual Studio open, you have GIMP open, you have Internet, Stack Overflow open, and so on. Having a lot of space on the desktop is the most important thing because I'm not always juggling around. So I think that's the most important purchase. And also my new PC.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I have two monitors, and they're very useful
Mhm.
a lot of the time. So, what game development related book, lecture, or learning resource can you recommend?
Okay, what I often recommend is The Art of Game Design, which among the books of game design I've read, it's the one I prefer and the one I go back to when I need to check something. It's so practical and it's so, I mean, complete. It has
Hmm.
something, some hint for anything. So also the cards that you get with the book, the lenses of Shell are really useful because you may get stuck while making your game. There are always those times when you're stuck, you're tired, you're working on the weekend, and you could go outside. So you don't know what to work on. You don't know how to improve it. You get the cards, you shuffle them, and suddenly you're not stuck anymore.
I understand. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, wait, what? Cards like mixing up loads of ideas?
Hmm.
Wow, and that comes with the book.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really
They are
cool.
lenses actually, lenses to look at your game from different angles. Each card is a different lens.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I have a book called Level Up
Yes, I read that.
by yes. Yeah, because one unintended consequence of doing these daily dev talk is that I'm going to start a game
Yeah,
studio of my own
that's cool.
when Game Overload is grown to a suitable size. Because at the moment it's a retail store, it's a Steam key store,
Hmm.
and then I can then go into publishing and development because I know how to develop and I've already got a community to publish alongside with.
Nice, good
So
idea.
loads of ideas, yeah. And I'm thinking of going into design, and I like it. And one ideas I have is
Hmm.
business management, and like these village games, these like building city and village managers, which I really
Yeah,
like. 'Cause
it's fun.
it's business, yeah, it's fun, it's tactical, it's smart, it's like scenario after scenario. It's really clever,
Yeah, understood.
and there's the kind of ideas I'm going to start with. But at the same time, they need to be well balanced and well constructed. So it's not just a case of having things in. It's there's a lot more to it.
Yes, it takes a lot of time.
Mm, exactly. Are there any other books you can recommend at all?
Ooh, yeah, for coders, one I recommend is
Mm,
Game Programming Patterns.
okay, that sounds familiar. But go on.
Yeah, that's a good one because also it's quite practical without going into a single coding programming language. It's really useful because, well, I didn't read it until a few months ago, but still I found when I read it something that I learned while doing the games, and I thought, what if I had this when I started programming games, it would have saved me a lot of time. It has a lot of patterns that are really useful also for business simulation games, for example, like object type pattern, which is really
Hmm.
cool.
Cool. That's another book worth looking
Yes.
into. So, like an Evernote or Trello, do you have a useful or productivity enhancing software, app, extension, or website worth sharing?
Well, I actually use Trello too, but what I use for productivity is just Notepad++.
Oh, okay.
I have countless files, text files. I find the flexibility of just having a notepad really really useful, and also a lot of sheet paper um, and a pen is all I need,
Mm-hmm.
and coffee. Coffee is a useful productivity enhancing software.
Coffee.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. So, what advice Michele, can you give to aspiring game developers, small indie studios, and people trying to get to where you are today?
Okay, my advice is to keep going forward, even with really, really tiny steps. And that's
Yeah.
because I'm making my game in my spare time, I said. So sometimes maybe in a week I am able just to add like a couple of sprites, or maybe just adding a small logo or a new event. But still, when you go on, small steps are still better than nothing. And you start making the game, it seems like this huge thing you'll never finish, but step after step, I think you can still finish it. It takes
I
time,
agree.
but well,
Yes, persistence,
yes, persistence and coffee.
persistent, persistence, and coffee.
Yes.
Okay, so what is next for you, and what's the best way to contact you?
Sorry?
What is next for you? What are you what projects are you working on next,
Okay.
and what is the best way to contact you?
Well, I have, like any game developers, a list of dozens of different projects I'd like to work on. I really love procedural content generation and genetics. So I think the next project may be something along the lines of um, our run and shoot platform with genetic monsters, or a game about managing a cat shelter.
Hmm.
That's because I
Oh,
like cats.
interesting,
And
interesting.
then, well, the best way to contact me is through, well, you can find me on Facebook, you can send me an email, you can take a look at my website at michelepirovano.com. And, well, I'm not really one for privacy, so if you want to find me, you will find me.
I understand. Well, Michele Pirovano, it was
Perfect.
great talking to you. Oh,
Of
thanks a
course.
lot, Pirovano. It was great talking to you, and a lot of information worthwhile remembering.
Thank you.
I love the advice about small steps, coffee and persistence,
Yes.
or persistence and coffee.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. It was great talking to you.
Thank
Plenty
you.
to think about. I wish you well in future endeavours.
To you too.
So stay tuned, Overload Nation. More episodes to come. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Daily Dev Talk with me, Adrian Nantchev. If you are a game developer that wants to get your name and game out there, and to share your experiences and stories, or you have feedback or opinions of the show, then contact me at info@gameoverload.co.uk. That's info@gameoverload.co.uk. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. More to come.